Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farmer, the podcast. This is your host, Jace D. Young, and today's topic and discussion is this: the two lives of every man. So inside of today's conversation, I know I told you guys I wanted to be more, focused on, our members and stories there. And this one is going to be more, more of a real conversation around just how we choose to live our lives. And I wanted to bring this up because I read this quote the other day. It was actually from Joe Rogan. And on this podcast I was listening to, the person he was interviewing said, every man lives two lives. And the second life starts when he realizes he only has one. Now, I could change this to every person lives two lives. And the second one starts when they realize they only have one. But I want you guys to really think about how powerful of a statement that is. And I'm going to talk specifically how it is related to farmers and ranchers and just ag business owners in this country. Because a lot of us guys, the reason I bring this up is because I compare it to my own personal story. And I took the traditional route. I was doing what everybody else around me thought I should do and expected of me around, go to college, get a job, safety and security, and then just sit there and be comfortable for the next 40 plus years of my life. And that just really weighed on me. That weighed on me a lot. And it made me feel small. A lot of times I just stressed out on my life a lot of times because I looked at where I was like back when I was working in the bank. And I can't talk negatively about the experience because all the skills and tools and stuff I learned back then, they're serving a purpose today with all of our members and helping our members take back control over the bank and literally run and control that conversation and get better interest rates, saving them thousands of bucks a year. Like that's what we're trying to do there. And so that time in my life really served me well there. But the problem was though, is I felt like I was living one life when reality was I was destined for another. And that's so true because a lot of you right now, you're driving around in your truck and you're going out, you're checking fields, or you may be getting ready to go start harvest or whatever it is. But a lot of you're living a life that you just feel like you weren't meant for. You feel like you're settling. You feel like you're doing something that everybody else wants you to do. Maybe your dad wanted you to come back to the farm or expected you to. Maybe your parents did. Maybe your uncle did. Maybe your grandparents did. Whatever that is, because a lot of us, a lot of people that are back on the farm operation, especially some of our members that are in their 40s and 50s, it was an expectation of them from their parents that they come back to the farm and they carry on the family legacy. And that's a massive, massive weight for a lot of people to carry. It really is. When you think about it, that is a massive weight for a lot of people to carry. And the entire time, like some of the members, they find out that, man, this isn't really what I want to do. Maybe I don't want to be working with my dad. Maybe I'd rather have my own portion of this business or my own service-based business or something because they just, again, they feel like they're settling. And the thing is, guys, is like with me, I'm driven off of challenges. I'm driven off of setting targets and doing everything I can to hit those targets. That's how a majority of human beings are kind of wired these days. But the thing is, though, is that we get into this life where we just settle because we think that's what we're supposed to do because honestly, that's how we're conditioned growing up. And I was at my nephew's high school graduation a few weeks ago, and the guy that was doing the speech for, they have the one person come in and do the commencement speech. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, what would I say to young men and women if I had to go back and if I was in that position where I was actually running the commencement speech? And immediately the first thing that came to mind for me was, the learning has only just begun. The learning has only just begun because we're all kind of brought up and we think that once we finish high school or college that, hey, we're good, we're set for the rest of our life. And that's just not reality at all. That's just not reality at all. It's one life for a lot of people. A lot of people, yeah, they stop learning and they stay in that life. For me though, I wanted to step over into this other life because I started to recognize, again, sitting in that bank, that I was living those two lives in that. And once it hit me that I really only had one life to live, that's when I left the bank. That's when all this new motivation and drive behind me came to start learning new skills, new concepts, and really start to build out what is now Legacy Farmer. But again, though, I had to put up with so much BS through that. I had to put up with stuff for my wife because I was leaving safety and security. We had 2 babies at home. I had to put up with stuff for my family, everybody in my hometown. Like everybody was judging me. But at the end of the day, I could not settle. And just, I always think about when my time is up on this earth and I have to step in and I have to face God, I don't want him to look at me and be like, man, this is who you could have been. Like, this is who you could have been. And that's what I'm talking about, guys, when we have every man is living 2 lives and the second life starts when he realizes he only has one. Like, so how many of you right now are living a life that you know you're just settling with, or you're just not happy with, and you know there's this other version out there for your life, and you know that it's possible for you, but you're just looking for the courage to take the step. Like, and I'm serious about this, guys, because you think about the amount of time that a farmer or rancher settles. And when I say like 10, 20, 30, 40 years, some of you guys 50, 60 years, it's just not a joke. And then you look back at your life and you're like, man, what could have been? What could have been if I would have had the crucial conversation with my parents, or if I would have stepped out and started my own business, whatever dramatic move you need to make to get into that other life. Because a lot of you right now, you're struggling. There's a lot of challenging times that you're facing, and this is impacting every area of your life, and especially your marriage at home. And so again, you have to look at the cost of settling. You have to look at the cost of staying the same, because if you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not pushing yourself, you're not challenging yourself, you're not constantly just expanding as a human being, then are we really living the life that we were truly meant to live? And that's where when I was in the bank, I just got to that breaking point. I knew that, hey, this life right here, sitting here, being comfortable, having a paycheck every single month, having health insurance, having all these things, like, it just wasn't for me. And it was worth the risk to me to go out and risk everything and literally, risk putting my family on the street. At the end of the day, we could have moved in with my parents, but obviously we don't want that to happen. But it was just, I was willing to sacrifice that to go out and really do what I wanted to do, and to live the life that I thought I was truly meant to live. Because guys, there is so much more for you out there. There is so much more, and you need to understand that. And I want you to feel it, because if you're driving in your truck right now, looking back at the last 10 years of your life, 5 years, whatever it is, some of you guys are maybe 20 or 30 years, and you're like, man, I have really wasted a lot of time. I really have. I've wasted a lot of time. I've made sacrifices that didn't pay off because they weren't yours to choose. Maybe somebody else is choosing them for you, like your dad or your mom or your grandparents or whoever was expecting you to come back over and take over the farm. And, when I look back and I talked to my dad, he worked on our feed yard for 40 years since he was 5 years old, and then it went under when he was 45. And his biggest regret is he wished he would have moved away and went and started his own thing. And just so he could learn. He's like, it's not like I didn't want to come back to the operation. He loved the feed yard. But he goes, I wish I would have learned the skills and the tools from actually having to build my own thing, because then that would have helped him protect his family a lot more when my granddad started making decisions that ultimately sunk the feed yard in the farm operation. He would have been a lot more aware, because he would have understood business at a completely different level. This is why learning never stops, and you cannot take your foot off the gas pedal here, because if you're not constantly learning and growing, you're dying. Like, really, I mean, you think about it, you are, because the world's moving on without you. The world is changing. Everybody else that's learning and growing, they're adapting with it, and they're getting further ahead of you, and you're sitting where you're at. And a lot of you might be sitting where you're at, and you may have been there for the past 10 or 20 years because you're still stuck in the first life, not recognizing that you only have one life to live. And once you truly recognize that, that's why the statement hit home with me so much, because once you truly recognize that, then you will, at that time, step in and really start living the life that you were meant to live, that God had intended for you to live. But until you are willing to have that crucial conversation with yourself and really look at your life and what you've done and what you've sacrificed and where you're at, until you're really, really willing to face the music and the hard truth, you're not going to step into that second life, which is honestly the only life that you have to live. So, my friends, I hope you found this episode valuable. I hope it kind of struck some chords with you. That's the whole point of this, because again, yes, this is, a quote that I got from another podcast and stuff like that, but it's so true for the American farmer or rancher. It's so true, because a lot of people, they feel imprisoned by the farm operation. They feel like they're having to do something because they can't get over the guilt of feeling like they abandoned the family farm. If they did go do something else, there's just a lot of struggles here. So if you do anything out of today's episode, go take action, go have that crucial conversation. Maybe it's with your parents, or maybe it's with yourself. Maybe you need to stop the truck. Maybe you need to sit there and you need to really think about your life and what you want for your family, for your future, for your legacy that you are building. Because, my friend, at the end of the day, you only have this one single life. So don't waste it. So that's all we got for this episode. I hope you found it valuable, and we will catch you on the next one.